Hello there. uh, we're doing something a little bit different here today on the Cam Cozy podcast. I'm going to be doing a solo episode today. Very exciting, very exciting. I have some talking points prepared. Some stuff that I've been diving into. We'll do a quick address. We've been gone for a few weeks. Very sorry about that. As you know, life gets busy. It is what it is. I'm going to keep it pushing. This isn't going to replace like the normal Cam Cozy show. This is just someone made a comment to me the other day saying that they, basing their opinion off one episode, they said that it should be named The Nathan Show because I talk so much. Well, you want a fucking Nathan Show? Here we are. We got the Nathan Show. Dylan, this one's for you specifically. Not the talking points, just the fact that the fact that I even thought it was a good idea to do this. So yeah, that's where we're gonna be cooking with today. I've never done a solo recording of anything, so this is a little nerve-wracking, but I'm hoping that I can hide all my nervousness and all my fuck-ups in a slew of different video and audio experiences as we take a journey together for an hour or so. No promises on if I can get an hour into this thing, but we're gonna try and cook. We're gonna try and cook that way. So yeah, got some notes here. This is gonna be heavily based around some of the books I've been reading lately. I got them off to the side here, but I've been reading some stuff. I've been reading some philosophy, some stoicism stuff. Not really sure how I feel about stoicism yet, but I'm just exploring some ideas. But I got two books, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. That's pretty fucking. I think that's just like the whole cornerstone of stoicism. So been reading that every few days. I'll pick it up. I'll read through them, find a good meditation, and I'll meditate on it, read it, digest it to myself, consider what it means, consider I could apply it to myself, how it applies to someone like Marcus Aurelius. Just trying to, I'm very, very new to the idea of tackling philosophy and applying it to yourself. So got that book. I also got another book called The Daily Stoic, and then that's just kind of like you read it once a day, make it like a habit. I don't read it once a day. That's another one that I read kind of every few days when I think like, oh, I have some time. I'm going to take a look at this real quick and pull it out and read a passage and meditate on it like it suggests or consider it. Take some notes on it, that kind of stuff. And Gavin loaned me a book. He loaned me Atomic Habits by James Clear. He introduced me to this book. I'd seen some people talk about it, and I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. And I think it's a pretty good tool so far. I haven't completely finished it. I haven't digested the whole thing, but I've been taking some of the practices it suggests, and I'm applying them. Basic idea of the book is getting 1% better every single day. You'll be 37 times better at something by the end of a year. So trying to incorporate that into the program. That's kind of the big idea. And then very loosely connected here, but I've been reading a really good book called Neuromancer by William Gibson, and it's probably the best. Well, I've read it before, but I read it as a teenager. I just thought it was a cool book, but now that I'm rereading it as an adult, it's pretty cool. And it kind of has obviously character development. Every fucking book has character development, but reshaping someone or reshaping yourself and making changes to your character, I guess we'll go with today. Gonna try and come up with some funny ways to get these ideas to come across to hopefully anybody who wants to hear them. So yeah, I got some notes here. Okay. We got a little bit to talk about here. So, election just happened. Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States. That's cool. I think it's an opportunity though that a lot of young men need to consider. A lot of the turmoil that was expected to come if Kamala Harris became president of the United States. And I don't want to make this episode just about the presidency topic. I'm working it in. A lot of dudes felt like we were going to be screwed if Kamala Harris made it to the presidency, and she didn't, right? So now everyone's idea is it's about to be a good 4 years, or a better 4 years than the last 4 years we had. That's great. I obviously hope that's the case, but it does not mean we should be getting comfy, sitting on our ass. If you think it's an opportunity, then it's you got to do something about it. You got to take charge. And I think young dude, like younger guys, I'd say probably 18 to 27. The writing's the writing's on the wall. It's starting to show. We were kind of in a little bit of a tailspin last 4 years. And I don't think that's just because of like the Trump thing, with the 2020 election, but I think it was just COVID. The world's really weird right now. We got social media doing its thing, politics doing its thing. We finally made it out of that little corner, that little section, and now we get to kind of coast. We get a second, but it's important that you don't sit idly during these times. And what I mean by that is just trying to become smarter, stronger, healthier. You got to kind of start building yourself, right? And if you find yourself in this opportunity, then you should obviously grasp it. So I've been kind of on this new kick where I've been trying to read a lot more. I'm trying to learn a lot more things. I was never really reading a lot. I used to read books, but there was no engagement to it. It was just kind of reading fiction or finding like a cool history book. But now I'm trying to find some books out there that have something to tell me, or something that can kind of add to my thought process and how I tackle things. Get that conscious expanded. This is getting a little. I guess this is already getting a little too philosophical. I didn't want to really dive into the philosophy of it, but more so just taking action. Taking action is kind of my big point I'm trying to make here. That's what I want to talk about is being an actionable human being. And doing a little bit of reading here, I've been able to kind of formulate what I believe or how I feel about that and how I'm grasping that and dealing with those thoughts, right? So that's what we're doing today. It's super, 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 super important for me to point out before we kind of ramble on for a while here, but I'm not exactly qualified to talk on this topic. It's still very new to me, but I figured what better way to work through my own thoughts than to project them outwards. I kind of consider this to be a little bit of a black hole right now. The podcast doesn't really have too much engagement. It's not the it's okay. We're not worried about views and whatnot. It's just kind of gives me an opportunity to do this. So I'm not really mad about that. But yeah, I keep presenting something and saying, all right, that's what we're gonna do, and let's get into it. And then I present something else. So sorry. So first thing to kind of do is run a little self-assessment. Run an honest look at yourself. Figure out, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing right now that is helping me? What am I doing that's hurting me? Whether that's things like having a bad sleep schedule, or you go to the gym 5 times a week, and I'm just listing good, bad, I'm just things, just in general actions. Are you staying up too late? Are you eating shitty? Are you drinking a lot? You doing drugs? I don't know. Whatever it is that you're up to, or the good things that you do. You eat a pretty solid diet. You work out 3 to 6 times a week. You like to read. You like to study. And when I say study, I don't mean like academically per se, but there's a lot of knowledge in books. There's a reason books are well, how do I put this? Books are pretty crazy because the invention of books is basically someone was like, shit, I got a great idea and I need to pass this down. Like this book needs, or these ideas, these thoughts, they need to surpass me in the timeline, right? They gotta ascend, my lifetime, and hopefully make it into the next, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of the big thing with books. I think that's why books are great. I like to, do research on the internet and stuff, but something about having a book in your hands, flipping through the pages, being able to flip back, reread, highlight, put notes, write in the margins or sticky notes or whatever. Obviously, everyone writes a fucking book these days, so it probably doesn't sound that important anymore, but the initial idea for books was awesome. The idea of trying to transcend time and keep your ideas going, past yourself, and hopefully they can continue to be shared. Obviously some good ideas were shared over the years. Some bad ideas were shared over the years. It happens. It's not that hard to write a book, especially nowadays with publishing ebooks, that fucking Hustler University shit, whatever. But books, reading is probably like the first thing I can think of where it's like, okay, you kind of have to do that. You don't have to be a super dedicated reader. I don't think that's fair. You don't have to have like a 6-hour block every single day where you have to read 3 different books or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Just try and make it a little bit of habit. The 1% better thing, I have to read the book to learn that stuff, so I was like, okay, I'll just start out, I'll just do like 20 minutes, and if I feel like I'm good at that 20-minute mark, I'll stop. First day, sat down 20 minutes, read, took some notes, thought about it. I was like, all right, cool. Second day, did another 20 minutes. Got to that 20-minute mark. Wasn't really like at a spot where I felt like I had to, I couldn't just, pause and then come back to it later. So I finished it out. It was like 22 minutes. Not a big deal. But doing a little bit more there. Now I'm probably reading about 30 to 45 minutes 4 to 5 days a week, which is something I haven't done in years, And it's kind of tough, but I'm starting to find the enjoyment in it. I don't read the same book over and over again, or I don't, if whatever I'm feeling that day or whatever I'm looking for with the reading, is what I kind of choose. So if I wake up and I want to read, or not if I wake up, but, when I feel like it's time to read, come home from work, take a shower, I'm like, okay, I want to sit down for a minute, read something, bust out the book, whatever it is I'm feeling. If it's, fiction, nonfiction, the book about the habits and the philosophy and all that, those, I try not to overindulge in those. But I also try not to just pick up the same fictional book and read that, or pick up another book in fiction. I try to just pace myself. Don't want to try and load my brain up with too much information and not be able to digest it, right? Or do I want to kind of get stuck in a little fantasy land? I don't want to be in either of those, obviously, so I try to just balance it out with myself. And, that's just being honest with myself, telling myself like, oh, we'll read that today, or I don't really want to do anything past the morning meditation I read, so I'll just bust out the Neuromancer, or I got some other fiction that I've been reading or rereading. So, but in terms of grappling with your sense of self, figuring out what it is you want from life, that could be tough for some people. It's I'm not saying it's easy. I don't exactly have it all locked in, but I think it's something that just takes time, and I think the longer you put time into it, the easier it's going to become. You start to pick away at the little things that you don't like about yourself, start to change them, try and grow from them, reinforce good habits, and try and abandon those bad habits. It takes time, but as you do that, you're going to be kind of rebuilding yourself, right? And rebuilding your sense of self. And I think the big thing is kind of taking stock in what you find to be essential to yourself, right? So that's things like obviously food, water, and shelter. No shit, but consider those things. You got a shitty living situation. Is it workable? Is it good for you? And figuring that out. Shelter or food. Sorry. Are you eating good? Are you spending too much on fast food? Is that becoming a financial strain for you? Is it becoming a health strain for you? Cooking's a good skill to have too. It's not really, it's not too intimidating. You just gotta do it. It's I think the benefits though of becoming more self-sufficient like that is it outweighs not just the idea of like, oh, eating at home is cheaper or whatever, but it also kind of gives you something to work on, gives you something to improve, get better at. And that's pretty good. I'm not saying you need to be like a Bobby Flay fucking master chef, but at least trying to tackle it as a learning experience or something like that. Sorry, we're getting cozy now. We're gonna lean back in the chair because kind of trying to get just the wheels spinning here. But food, water, shelter, making sure you're staying hydrated, you're eating good, you don't live in a hazardous living situation where your fucking room's a wreck, or you live in a terrible household that has its problems or whatever. Trying to do what's right by you, But yeah, analyzing your essentials, tackling those first, building yourself a good base, building yourself a good foundation to then kind of formulate your new character development. Is that's how you find yourself, You don't wake up one day with like this idea of who you are, your identity, and how you see yourself, and how you think the world should see you, and you gotta take the time to build those things. You gotta take your time to develop that sense of self, and kind of reinforcing those positive changes you're making in your life, right? Obviously, you're not going to be perfect every time. That's just kind of how life goes. You get spun out by certain things. Certain things, get you worked up. Some things for certain people, I get it. Everyone has their own thing. There's like financial stress. There's stress on living in a country that's so divisive with politics and whatnot, and people trying to cater to certain identities and kind of shutter other identities, which, don't want to get into all that, but you get what I'm saying, I think. Kind of, the world is obviously pretty tough, and you got to find your place in it, right? And I think that's more than, I feel like a lot of young dudes are kind of getting told, like, once you find that good job that makes you money, that's it. You get the money, everything's fine after that. Obviously, you always hear the money doesn't buy happiness. Obviously, it gives you a sense of safety, a little bit of a little control, or, if you're not following the protocol, you have some weird employment, or maybe you do some like odd job stuff or whatever, you don't find that golden job opportunity, and the world kind of wants you to be into like a little bit of a tailspin, right? They challenge that idea, and I'm not saying like one's better than the other. I got friends that got into business and became successful. I got friends that just do the blue collar stuff, and they're on track to be very successful, right? So it's kind of it's just a little more complicated than once you find your career or you find your way to make money in this world. That's kind of where your character development ends, right? Maybe it was that simple back in the day when you found a job working for, I don't know, a company like Ford or something. You start out at a plant doing manufacturing stuff. Fast forward 5 years, you're leading the manufacturing. Fast forward another 5 years, you're in some middle management system where you're managing more than one production facility, or you just kind of climb that career ladder, and you'll be fine. Once you just got to just find your spot, tuck in, and basically just continue falling ass backwards into every opportunity. Not saying people didn't work hard for that kind of stuff, but it ain't as easy as it used to be. We kind of deal with one generation telling other generations, back in my day, blah blah blah. I worked a whole summer and I was able to buy a car. Obviously, it don't work that way no more. And that's fine. It's bound to happen, Human, with all the influences we have on, the U.S. or the world, it can't be that easy forever, right? If it was that easy, everyone would be successful. So things come and go, trends like that, and you got to kind of find a new way. I feel like a lot of things that younger guys resonate with is I heard something back in the day that kind of that's always stuck to me, and it was a guy talking about something. I don't know. I don't remember if it was like a schizo rant online, or maybe it was like a public speaking thing, or maybe it was a YouTube person. I don't remember. But he said our fathers raised us for our fathers raised us for a world that no longer exists, right? And you grow up and you're being told like, oh yeah, show up, ready to work, firm handshake, good eye contact, all that good stuff. And that doesn't exactly play out like it used to. I remember after I got my first job in high school, I think after high school, I was trying to get a job at I think like an Ace Hardware or something like that. And I was, I'm told, or I have the idea that, I walk in, I ask if I can speak to a manager, I bring a resume with me, I do, all the kind of stereotypical show up with a firm handshake and good eye contact, hand them your resume, tell them you're ready to work. They'll give you a job on the spot. I think this was during COVID, and I went in. I can't even remember if they had a position posted or not, but I went in, asked if I could speak to whoever is responsible for hiring, or whoever has the authority to handle that kind of stuff. Introduced myself, let them know, hey, I'm looking for a job. Pretty flexible hours. I was trying to be as marketable as possible. I just needed a job, so I was down to work whenever. It was an Ace Hardware, so I'm sure it wasn't didn't have the craziest hours, but I was trying to take that little step that everyone says to take. Guy brings me back to the office. He's like, oh yeah, starts talking to me. I think he had something like a star citizenship on his computer wallpaper, or maybe his phone. I don't remember. And I said something about it. I was like, oh, hey, Star Citizen. And he's like, oh, yeah, you know about Star Citizen, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about it. Super cool. I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, I found my little point of conversation. And it seemed like the interview went really well. I was like, hell yeah, I definitely got this job. Went home, and waited a few days, didn't get a call. You know, came to like 3 or 4 days. I called the Ace Hardware and asked if there was an update on it, and they were like, yeah, the guy who handles that, he's not here today. I'm like, oh, no worries. I'll just call back in a few more days. Call back like 2 days later, finally get in contact with the guy, and he's like, oh yeah, we sorry, but we went with another candidate. I was like, oh, okay, no worries. It happens. And I ended up finding another job somewhere else. But like 2 months later, I get a call from a number that I don't have saved in my phone. I answer it, and it's the dude from Ace Hardware, and he's like, hey, so sorry about this, but the new person we hired, they didn't work out, so are you willing to come back? And I was like, damn. First of all, I wasn't. The job that I had then was paying me more, so better hours too, and it was like in the same shopping mall as Ace Hardware, so wasn't gonna be like a save on commute or anything like that. So I was like, oh no, man, like sorry, but I got a job now, and no one really knew what was going on with work around then. Some places were still closed, so I was just kind of getting what I could, and but it kind of made me realize, and after that, I'm moving out of that area, looking for more jobs as a young man. I realized like the whole walk in, shake a hand a resume off, that whole thing doesn't work anymore. Basically got a call and ask if they even handle that in person, or they just give you a link to a website or an Indeed posting or whatever, which we know how that's going. But I don't think you should beat yourself up for that if that's something you're struggling with. It takes time, obviously. You got to learn skills that you can then market to the job world. But getting in there is a little more trickier than it used to be, right? So there's that. But kind of going more back to the sense of self thing, I think it's kind of a... sorry, I gotta turn the music down a little bit there. I was starting to peak in my headphones. I think when you kind of put all your chips on the finding something like employment, or finding your dream job, or finding that job that you can jump into, and then you're on track to make whatever amount of money it is that you want to make by whatever time metric you're going to set for yourself, or whatever the industry standard is, or anything like that, you're kind of selling yourself short, right? You're putting a monetary value on success when it's more than that. It's kind of like a physical, mental, spiritual thing, right? There's the physical aspects of it, like hard work pays off, right? How much money you make can show other people, I'm good at what I do, and there's there's nothing wrong with taking pride in hard work or good quality work or whatever it is. That's what sets you apart from people. That shows your skills in the whatever field you choose. That shows your dedication to it, trying to get better, trying to be the best, right? And that's good, but it's not going to be all telling of your character. And I think there's things that people kind of sleep on, being charitable, not like literally like giving money to charity, but being a helping hand or a pillar in your community. Those are things that you can take value from, whether you work a 9 to 5 for a little office, or you're part of some huge company, or you run a company of your own, or you're just an employee. There's other things that your employment's not going to influence that can make you be a good person, be a better person for yourself, for others, for your community, for your family, whatever it is. And yeah, it's something to obviously get worked up over. But I think the big thing is whatever journey you find yourself on, grasping your sense of self, who you are as a person, your character, what you can do for others, right? That's kind of all I gotta say on that topic. But let's see here. I got. Sorry, folks. I have to trim this up. I guess I can not end off, but I can kind of wrap around to back to the book Atomic Habits. The big thing that's kind of stuck with me as I read the book, I think it's like in the second first part, end of first part, second part, I don't remember, a little halfway through or whatever, but it's the idea of enforcing your identity through your own habits, right? I think the example they give is like there's two people who quit smoking recently, and someone offers them a cigarette, and the first person responds to the question with like, "Oh no, I'm no thank you. I'm trying to quit," right? And when you say something like that to somebody, "I'm trying to quit," you're identifying as a smoker who is trying to stop smoking, versus the second person who responds to the question, "No thanks, I don't smoke," right? They're identifying themselves as, and obviously it's not as simple as you tell yourself that that's what's going to happen. You know, you have to make sure you do the work to avoid giving into something like that. But the idea is solidifying yourself as someone by you're identifying yourself as what it is you're trying to be, right? It's kind of like the fake it till you make it, but if you're actually practicing that stuff, then you're not. That is you doing the thing, right? Telling someone you're trying to quit smoking just implies that, oh yeah, I'm still smoking, right? Or I still drink, or I'm just trying not to do that, versus saying I don't do it, which could be a little it could be a little heavy-handed, right? Maybe you're just trying to take a break from something. Maybe you're just not feeling it in the moment. I guess you could just leave it as a no thank you. I'm good. But when it's something like that where you're trying to make an active change in your life, identifying as the person who has made the change rather than someone who's trying to make the change is kind of the big one. It says like if I want to be an artist, I need to make art. If I want to be a musician, I have to make music. If I want to be a writer, I have to write. And I don't think it means literally just sit down and write nonsense on a piece of paper. But if you're trying to tell other people, trying to sell the idea that you're a writer, and you're too scared to make anything, then you're lying to yourself. You're lying to those around you. But I think a lot of people get. I think there's a phrase for it: paralysis by analysis. Basically, getting caught up so much in the details of something that you never really meet the end goal of what it is you're trying to produce. Right? You get stuck on every little thing, every little task. And there's people out there that they like to problem solve, but they like to solve the same problem over and over and over again, right? They'll go back, they'll jeopardize, the work schedule of something to go back and keep playing with that little key point that they're stuck on, versus just kind of sending it. And I'm not saying, you should just vomit a bunch of words out onto a piece of paper, publish it, and be like, yep, this is my first piece of writing. Obviously, you got to take care in your craft, but I think if you dedicate yourself to it right off the bat, you be honest with yourself and the reader or the listener or the viewer or whatever it is that you're trying to make and put out into the world. It needs to be genuine first and foremost. That's what I'm trying to kind of get to is being a genuine. Being genuine, dedicating yourself to the idea that you want to do something. I'm trying to be get into this podcasting flow. Never done a solo episode before. Not gonna lie, the nerves are pretty high right now, but I want to podcast. I want to be a podcaster. I just want to make content. I want to make, not in the business sense of content, but I found podcasting, or producing this show, Camp Cozy, with Gavin and Tyler, or trying to sit down and do something like this. Like, this is a skill I want to have, right? This is a skill I want to develop. So what better way to develop or work on that than trying to do this? And I understand this episode's probably going to be a little bit of a random mess, and that's okay. It's the first time I've ever sat down. I've never really, I didn't even have these ideas prepared for this little sit down. I had them written down, but they weren't formatted to be talked about to an audience, right? These were reflections that I had jotted down in my little book for myself, and now I'm trying to present those ideas, and it's a little tough because I have ways of wording things to myself that might not come across to other people, right? Trying to verbalize them, and I got all the. Keep looking down at the phone, which has my viewfinder for my camera. Keep looking at the lens because I'm like, oh shit, there's a camera. Keep looking over at the screen because I got the little ambient music playing, and I'm like, checking, making sure it's not gonna stop playing abruptly and screw up the whole presentation aspect of this, right? But not to get lost, that's probably right there is a perfect example of paralysis by analysis, right? But trying to avoid that, trying to like fight through that feeling and just kind of gnash your teeth and buckle down and try and get through that. So that way you can present the ideas that you're trying to present, right? Or trying to get the message across for something you're trying to do. All right. And we're back. Kind of lost the plot there, so we're going to round out the end of the episode back to the center talking point of this whole fireside chat today, and that is leveling up, right? Getting into the ebbs and flows of trying to improve yourself, trying to become better at what it is you're trying to do and what you're trying to present to the rest of the world, becoming better at coming to terms with life and positive self-reinforcement, finding your product. All right. Gonna round out the end of the episode here. Kind of losing the plot, so I want to bring it back, get it wrangled back to the idea of the whole antithesis of this thing, which was taking opportunities and leveling up, so to speak, becoming, a better person, a harder worker, smarter, stronger, more capable of tackling the problems that life likes to throw at you, right? And I guess I'll take it as a moment to kind of reinforce those things for myself, right? I want to get better at podcasting. I want to get better at producing something for the internet like Camp Cozy. And to do that, I have to do it, right? And that's kind of the whole point, becoming better. So that way I can make something that's successful, right? All right. Got a little off topic there. Gonna wrangle it in. Circle back to the whole point of this, leveling up, so to speak. I think that's something that got coined from. I think it was War Mode or Matt and Shane's podcast. I don't remember. But leveling up or programming. I think programming was the best way to put it. The best way I've heard in the past few years. But what does that entail? What is programming, right? That's becoming better at whatever it is that you do. finding your self-identity and reinforcing that in a positive manner, so to speak. Trying to overcome, the vast obstacles that life likes to throw at you, and building on yourself. You're the only horse in the race, right? You gotta make that bet on yourself. Trying to do things like do a solo podcast, semi unprepared, right? It's not easy, but to learn how to do it, you have to do it. I can't, I can sit and probably work on notes all morning long, plan out every single every single minute of this episode that I'm trying to make here, and it would still probably come out a little jumbled, a little rough around the edges, but that's okay. We're gonna work on this. I like this little structure. Like I said, this isn't replacing the Camp Cozy show. We just kind of found ourselves in an opportunity where we couldn't quite get the time to record, and I was like, you know what? Got some ideas written down. Why don't I throw my hat in the ring and try and pull something off like this? A little bit of a fireside chat. Staying cozy, but trying to work on being a better entertainer, or whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. When we do Camp Cozy, or when we do weird offshoots like this, where I want to force myself to sit down and try and get something tangible here that I can put out, right? And yeah, that's kind of it. Sorry if this is a little short. I don't really have it in me to do this for an hour quite yet, but we're working on it, right? That's all we can do. All right, folks, it's been another episode of Camp Cozy. Well, a little branch off of Camp Cozy, The Nathan Show. Have a good one.